But it's this uplifting chorus that makes you kind of just want to throw the papers in the air and be like, who cares? You know, even though it's really dark. Hey, what's up? I'm Alice Merton, and I'm at DIFFUS today talking about my new album, S.I.D.E.S.
How did you get into making music?
So I started playing the piano when I was 5, basically through my dad. He was the one who introduced it to me, and then I took lessons. And when I was 9, I started singing and kind of fell in love with singing musicals and little arias, and I kind of went through a classical education. Yeah, that's it. When I was like 17, 18, I kind of discovered songwriting through a course at my school, and I picked up the guitar for the first time and wrote my very first song.
Do you miss playing classical music?
A little bit. Sometimes I miss playing classical music. I still do play it in my spare time, but I haven't learned any new pieces in the last like 8 years, which I'm not proud of. Yeah, I used to practice piano for at least like 2 to 3 hours a day when I was younger. It was really kind of my passion. So I hope to get back to that at some point.
What different musical sides can be found on your new album S.I.D.E.S?
I think this album is very different from the first album in the sense that it shows a very big musical variety of sounds, of styles. Like every song on this album sounds different to the next, which I quite like. I kind of wanted to showcase my songwriting a little bit more on this album. I wanted to show people that I didn't kind of just do like drum and bass or wasn't just kind of like indie pop. Like I love mixing styles, taking a little bit of R&B, taking a little bit of hip hop on the production side and kind of mixing it up. But I still feel like I'm very much in the pop rock kind of genre where I feel like I kind of started off. But I think that's one of the things I've always fallen in love with in music is just combining different things that I love, because I listen to so many different types of music, and I like to try and combine those in my songs.
What story does the album tell?
So I actually try to kind of keep this album in a very chronological order. The songs that you see in that order are basically how they happened in real life. So I kind of wanted to tell a story with it where it starts with love back, of feeling like someone is not really appreciating or respecting the love you are giving them, and so you want it back. So you kind of feel like you have wasted your time with someone who's obviously never going to treat that love that you give them with the same respect that you've treated their love. So it starts with that, and then it goes into kind of these songs like Future, where you're questioning everything and hoping to have that person back in your life, and feeling like you knew what was going to be your future, but then everything just turned out differently than you expected. It kind of goes from that into an even darker direction with Mania and Vertigo, talking about this manic state that you feel like you've entered because of certain events. And then there's 100 Stories kind of in the middle, because 100 Stories for me was kind of like the turning point of starting to feel better. And then you get to the other side where you feel like, okay, time has passed and you haven't lost your full mind in that dark hole. And that's when you kind of see the hope, the light at the end of the tunnel.
How did your song Vertigo come about?
So I had written down the word vertigo a long time ago because it's something that I witnessed a lot. I like panic attacks, and I had panic attacks before I went on stage. On stage, I always felt very uncomfortable in a setting with lots of people. So like going to a club for me was very difficult. So the idea basically came from a night out where it was my ex's friend's birthday party, and they wanted to go to a club. We were in line. I panicked. I took a taxi home, didn't even enter the club. That's the catalyst, I think, for that song and what inspired the set, like the surroundings. And so a few weeks later, I went to Canada, wrote with an amazing producer, Cause, the song Vertigo. And I told him about this experience, and I told him about my panic attacks and my anxiety. And I think that kind of just was the start of Vertigo. We spent two days on it, and yeah, that's how that song came together.
How does it feel playing Vertigo live?
I love playing Vertigo live. It's one of my favorites to play live at the moment, just because it's so dramatic. And I feel like I wrote it so that we could play it live. Like, it was never in my head meant to be a single. I wanted it to grow in a live setting, that people get excited for that song, which is now nice that we can finally do, because we weren't able to do that for so long. I mean, it brings back memories, but it also, because it's such a kind of rocky song, and with those guitar riffs, I just feel powerful. Like, I feel like I can overcome all my fears when I play that.
Which song didn't you expect to come out of the production process?
I wasn't expecting Everything. Everything was the song on the album that I think sticks out a little bit, in the sense that it's very dreamy, very floaty. There's no real drums or organic instruments in there except for maybe a guitar. But I love the vibe of it. Like, it really just kind of describes that feeling of what the story is telling in a very soft and gentle way. So without making it too sad, still kind of giving it that fun touch.
Does mixing serious topics with pop melodies happen naturally for you?
I feel like with the first album, like, even the best example I think is No Roots, because No Roots was never meant to be, for me it still isn't like a happy song, but it's perceived as a happy song. But for me, it was very kind of like, if you hear me playing the piano version of it, which is kind of how it started with those chords and how I was singing it, it was quite depressing, because I really felt like I didn't have a home. Like, I was telling myself, okay, I've got no roots, but don't worry, your home was never on the ground. It was like a reassuring feeling of like, you know what, you don't need to be sad. Stop being sad. Your home was never on the ground. And that's why I think it's so funny that it turned into such a fun kind of song where people want to dance to it, and which I think is great. And I do think it occurs quite often in my music, where I take melodies that are more uplifting. Like Blindside is the best example. Blindside is such a dark song if you listen to the lyrics and know the story behind it. But it's this uplifting chorus that makes you kind of just want to throw the papers in the air and be like, who cares? You know, even though it's really dark.
What is the best place to listen to Sides?
I would say in the kitchen while you're cooking a meal or something, or because it's a sad album, but it still kind of flows in a way that is kind of, it's not upbeat, but it kind of just keeps things going, I feel. Like, there's never a moment where it gets too ballady and you want to kind of cry and listen to, or drink a glass of wine and turn the lights down. Maybe if you're on a plane and you've got time and you're not sure what to expect in the next city, so you put in Sides and you're like, oh, this is hopefully kind of cool.
What are your plans for the rest of 2022?
So this year, we still have some festivals planned, which is very exciting. We played Hurricane in Southside in Germany. We're playing Ziget in a few weeks. Summerwell Festival. We're playing Lollapalooza this year. So we've got festivals planned. I am someone who just loves to write, so I will lock myself in the studio again and continue writing. I think I'll take some time off, perhaps. I'm just excited to kind of be back making more music and putting out songs. So I think we're going to be touring. Oh, we're touring in the fall. We're going on a European tour, so people should come to our concerts there.